Welcome back to the Glen Alex Show. I am your host, Glen Alex, and each episode of the award-winning The Glen Alex Show focuses on a different aspect of health because you are whole and all of you matter. And I am on a mission to help you be joyful, connected, confident, and complete. The life experience I call Wellth, Wellth, which is health plus other riches. And please keep in mind that when we find balance, total health on the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels, then the world will be harmonious and safe for all of us. So before we jump into today's episode, please subscribe and drop a comment so I will know what's on your mind. Thank you.
Where your health matters, set your mind, let it flow. Joyful, connected, confident, complete. Let Glen Alex help you back on your feet. The Glen Alex Show.
This episode of the Glen Alex Show is a replay of Glen's interview by Rick Vann. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Age of Adventure production of KSKQ Community Radio. I'm your host, Rick Vann. I rarely make promises or predictions on our show, but I can promise you that if you join us for the next hour, you will find yourself on a successful mission of discovery that may alter your life or improve the quality of it, at the very least. My guest today for this expotition, as Winnie the Pooh would call it, is Glen Alex. Glen Alex's life work is about health, with careers in social work, writing, charity, therapeutic massage, and tennis. Her transformative mission is to help others be joyful, connected, confident, and complete. The life experience she calls Wellth, and that would be spelled Wellth. And it is about health and other riches. Glen's journey in the health space began with boundaries. As a child, she was so engaged by the nuance of interaction when people smiled, cringed, and when pain crossed their faces. Glen clearly remembers vowing to not be the one to cause another person pain unnecessarily. She saw boundaries respected and boundaries violated, and it stuck. From that, Glen's work expanded other areas of health, and she developed a unique and no-nonsense perspective to help others lead their healthiest and most joyful life. Professionally, Glen's experience is well-rounded in health and wellness. She is author of the award-winning book Living in Total Health and Health Blogs, a licensed clinical social worker, a licensed massage therapist, USPTA/RSPA certified tennis coach, burn-along instructor, founder and executive director of former G. Alex Foundation, Marquis, and Marquis Who's Who inductee and host of the award-winning podcast, The Glen Alex Show. I'm not quite sure what Glen Alex has not done, but we'll come to that. And among her many professional achievements, it's notable that in 2025, she was awarded the title of Corporate Vision Mental Health Educator of the Year. And that is quite remarkable. With all that being said, Glen, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Age of Adventure. We're glad to have you here today.
Oh, thank you so much, Rick. I really appreciate this opportunity to share some information and insights.
Well, I hope I got at least 90% of those credentials correct, and you do have a raft of them. So congratulations.
You did good. Thank you.
I'm just very pleased to get an hour of your time with everything on your schedule. By the way, I read a review on your website, which I thought was interesting. The essence of the review was the comment from the person doing the review was that your program or your book, your philosophy allows each person to create one's own wealthy, quote unquote, as in Wellthy, life symphony, which is interesting. So quick comment on that review and what that means, a life symphony.
The basis of living in total health and my approach to life is that there is no one size fits all. There is not one diet plan, no exercise regimen, no medical treatment that applies to everyone. So with that quote that review reflects that each person is in charge of their own narrative. They can create their own symphony and with its strings or horns or whatever fits them. And my goal is to open up an opportunity or a space for them to figure that out.
Yeah, and I like the analogy to music too. That makes perfect sense.
Yes.
And the other thing that you've mentioned or that's been mentioned is that seeking a magic bullet in this world is futile. There are no magic bullets out there. There are combinations of things that can help, but certainly not one magic bullet, correct? Talk to me about the process that you went through in writing your more recent book, Living in Total Health, and what that looked like, what that means. In other words, how did you get there? Was it did it spin off from your other books, or was it an independent aha that you had that compelled you to write that?
Well, Living in Total Health is actually my first published book. My second published book
Mm.
is scheduled for release this coming November.
Oh,
The process of writing Living in Total Health came about, um, it came out of depression, basically. I was in a really deep depression. And as I came out of it, as I was coming out of it, I had the opportunity to meet best-selling author Patrick Snow. He offered to coach me, and I said yes. And so out of that, that Living in Total Health was born. So it was out
wow.
of pain. It came out of pain, actually.
Yeah, I think as so many things in life are born, they come from pain or fear, doubt, but generally from experiential things, of
Yes,
course.
absolutely.
And certainly in your case, take me back to your childhood for a bit and what compelled you to get into the field or many of the fields that you're involved in now.
Well, I am the youngest of 10, seven
Wow.
girls and three boys, and I was a quiet, shy child, and I watched a lot. Would be in a room full of people and be in a corner somewhere watching what was going on. And I was just so attracted to interactions and how people, the nuances of how people engaged. And that's where my first concept of boundaries came from. Even though I didn't actually intellectually know what boundaries were, I could see when someone was hurt by a comment. I could see when someone was pleased by a comment with a smile and the cringe, or when someone didn't want to be touched by a certain person or in a certain spot on their bodies. I could see the physical manifestations of boundaries. And so that informed me to what was acceptable and what wasn't. And so as I grew and developed and became a teenager, I learned how to say no when I was 15,
Yeah.
and it just expanded from there to other areas of health.
Did you find yourself talking to your siblings and coaching them a bit in during this process of discovery of interaction?
No,
No? So you were not at the
no,
top of the pecking order. You were down
no,
at the
I was the baby. And
oh, you were
so
the baby.
I was the baby and treated that way, and to a degree still treated that way by my older siblings. And so it was more of just me expressing
Mhm.
myself as I grew and developed.
Yeah. So you had 10 siblings, so that's 11 total, if I'm doing the math right, including you.
Well, ten
Yeah.
total. I'm the 10th.
Yeah. Oh, you're the
As my
10th. Okay,
mother,
got it.
as my mother used to say, I'm the 10th commandment.
Yeah, right. What role did your parents play in helping you in the direction that you went?
Um, my mother was more of an example. She led by example. I would watch her and how she interacted with people and what she tolerated, what she wouldn't tolerate. And so
Mhm.
I just picked up my cues from that. My father was more of a teacher. Okay. You don't treat people this way. You don't say that about certain people. And he, in a way, too, led by example because I could see him practicing what he preached.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were my teachers in that way.
Yeah.
My father
So
more so of a verbal teacher.
interesting. Okay. So it
Yeah.
was, but ultimately it was a good platform for you, at least from a family standpoint.
Yes, it was. And I also learned from both of them and other people around me what not to do.
Oh, what would be an example of that?
An example of that would be when someone is disrespectful to you,
Mhm.
self-advocate, speak up.
Hmm.
Don't just
Okay.
take it. There were other people around me who just were very meek and passive in getting their needs met. And so that struck me as, okay, that's not okay either.
Yeah. What flies a bit in the face of the turn the other cheek philosophy, I suppose,
Yes, yes,
in a
it's
healthy way.
yes.
Talking about the book Living in Total Health, there's three sections from what I could gather as I reviewed and read the book: physical, emotional, and mental. And the interplay within the three essentially is very critical. I know. What is there a way to attach a percentage to what how important physical, emotional, and mental are when it comes to the concept of achieving wealth?
No. Because it adding a percentage makes it static, and
Hmm.
that ties into the one size fits all, that it's always 10% this, 15% that, 30% that. And since writing Living in Total Health, I've added spirituality to wealth. So it's the
Hmm.
physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And by spiritual, I don't mean religion. I
Right.
mean how well connected you are to your personal truth, to your authentic self, to your loved ones, and ultimately to your creator. So it's about connection. And for me, living in total health is a balancing act between the physical, mental, emotional, and the spiritual. Because one day you might be ill, yet your emotional stability or your connection might compensate. So, an example of that would be I have GI issues. And so, if I eat too much of the wrong thing, then I fall into this severe malaise. It is
Mm.
really uncomfortable, unpleasant, and it's just all of my systems seem to shut down. So basically, all I can do is lay around. Yet, when I'm in that condition, I can still smile, I can still laugh. I'm not irritable. I don't uh, punish people for how I feel. So there's that balancing act between what's happening physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So there, I can't apply a percentage to either one because we're dynamic creatures and
Right.
we're fluid. We flow in and out of emotional states, mental states, physical states, and even connected states.
Yeah. I would assume our mental, well, not assume, I know our mental and emotional states are very important when it comes to our physical health. So
Hmm?
do you think we, as a general rule, don't pay enough attention to how critical mental and emotional conditioning is to how we feel physically? Do you think we compartmentalize those two? Uh,
Well, I'll give that a
physical.
percentage, 100%.
Okay. That's that's what I would figure. I know we can almost will ourselves to feel better on a given day. And there's also, I guess, what's called neuro-linguistic programming, meaning speaking
Yes.
yourself into which I'm sure you cover in one of your books at some point.
I cover that from the perspective of the cognitive distortions,
Hmm.
how we
Yeah.
think and how we speak, our beliefs and our choices. Um, I do have quite a few clients who do compartmentalize their experience and their wholeness, and that's what gets people into trouble, in my opinion, is that they only focus on the physical or only focus on what they think or only focus on how they feel. So I think it again, they're out of balance in that way with those four elements.
Right. I imagine a lot of your clients. I know I find it somewhat confusing sometimes. There's so much that I can do, for example, as an individual to achieve better emotional and physical health, and it's almost overwhelming sometimes. So, do you witness that with your clients, and do you have some way of explaining that these are measured steps and not just don't look at it as a basket, but look at it as individual parts?
The biggest thing I run into with clients is that they are not connected enough to themselves to be present, so they become aware of what works for them.
Mm,
Instead, this expert says this book says that, this website says that. A lot of them will scroll social media for information. We know a lot of what people put out on social media is false, is pretense. And so I will gear those clients to pay more attention to their own internal experiences and impulses and understand themselves a little better so they will know what foods to eat, when to eat them, what exercise is most beneficial for them, and exercise can be any activity, not just working out in the gym. So it's more about being deepening the connection with self to sort those things out.
yeah. And you mentioned, of course, connection early on there. And I know in my case, I don't feel I was connected to myself until I went through therapy for probably the better part of a year, and then I began to realize how disconnected I was
Okay.
to the true me and to my childhood and everything else. But you think it's more common than not for people not to be connected to themselves, at least initially?
I think so. I think so. I think it might even be more prominent now with social media because we have that
Mhm.
distraction and we take in this false information and images and ideals and try to live up to what's outside of us rather than be connected with what's inside of us. And for me, that's what's contributing to the increase in loneliness.
Yeah,
Even though we're more connected with people through technology, there is still that emotional distance and the loneliness because in my opinion, people are more disconnected from themselves and looking outside for approval, for love, for validation, for worth.
yeah, I agree. The Surgeon General of the United States a couple of years back called loneliness an epidemic, referred
Hmm.
to it as an epidemic, and I agree. I had Mike Petrovich and Ann Petrovich, who you know, on my show, doing a spot on loneliness and the epidemic therein. And it's quite pervasive, and even in the younger generation, there's a ton of loneliness, probably
Hmm.
fed by social media, expectations, all those things.
Yes.
So, do you see us making any headway on loneliness in this country? Are we going the wrong direction, or?
I'm concerned. I'll be honest that I am concerned about the direction we're going in, and I think the further we get away from ourselves, then closer or the more engaged we become in harmful behaviors. I personally don't think, I think people in pain hurt other people. And so the pain of loneliness can um, lead someone to strike out against someone else simply because it's a it- it's a crazy way to deal with their pain, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, it does absolutely.
Yes. So I'm
Yeah,
very concerned with the direction we're going in.
yeah, as I am too. I know that longevity and quality of life are so dependent on connection.
Hmm.
And we've lost so much in the way of connection because of social media. Maybe not in my generation, but certainly in the younger one. So
Yes.
I'm very concerned about it as well. Let's shift to physical activity and how critical that is. I know at one point in the book you mentioned that nutrition is 75 to 85% of weight control, for example. But how does one evaluate what they eat and create a personal plan? Is it ever okay to be overweight but happy?
I think in recent years, people are becoming more comfortable in their own bodies, whether they're
Mhm.
large, mid-size, or small, and that is a positive. My only concern with being overweight is the potential health problems it can create, like diabetes and um, arthritis or other pressure on the joints, mobility,
Mhm.
flexibility, those kinds of things. So yeah, I think a person can still approve of and love themselves even if they are heavier. So I think that's absolutely okay. Um, as far as nutrition, again,
Mhm.
it's about learning and learning from your experience and what works for you. It is okay to do research and get advice from experts, dietitians, doctors, whatever, but to follow what they say to the letter at the exclusion of your own understanding and experience is a problem. So, for example, with my GI issues, soy and eggs are healthy foods,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're a
Yeah,
problem for me. So if I just simply ate soy and eggs because they said it was okay, then I would suffer.
yeah,
So it's about listening to yourself, being connected enough to yourself to be aware that no, this food doesn't fit right for me. It doesn't sit well. It doesn't work. So I need to try something different.
sure. And there's so much misinformation out there, so much flawed marketing, and you
Yes,
walk down the aisle of a supermarket, and you see a ton of, for example, non-fat foods, and they're loaded with sugar
they're loaded with sugar and sodium.
and sodium, and they're processed in general, end.
Yes.
And so it's one of my pet peeves when I walk through the grocery store, which I do infrequently because I don't shop that often, and I don't cook, incidentally, either. I'm pretty pathetic there.
Well,
Uh,
it takes me a long time to shop because I look at pretty much every label.
yeah, I do too. It's probably analysis paralysis because I wind up with not much in my cart by the time I'm done. I went on a road trip up to Canada recently, and I wanted something to nibble on the way, and I realized these fast food joints along the way and gas stations have nothing healthy. So I couldn't, I just couldn't console myself with a bag of chips or something. So I went hungry. But talk to me about, you mentioned the word oxidation in your book, which is the cause of many major medical conditions in the United States. Why don't doctors mention that? And does it relate to inflammation, pain management?
Oxygen, my understanding of oxidation is um, the free oxygen molecules in the air will attach to other molecules in the food and change their chemical makeup. Um, and that process creates problems in the body. So, for example, if you left an avocado, cut an avocado and left it out, it would turn brown. That's an
Okay.
example of oxidation.
Hmm.
So, oxidation has been linked to a number of different conditions. So it could have a role in pain, definitely in inflammation. And that's why antioxidants are important because they grab those free oxygen molecules. And
Hmm.
so the body can have the nutrients it needs to process foods and substances.
Let's talk about sleep and resting well. I know that's a big component of emotional, physical, and mental health, but the brain detoxes during sleep, as I was reading through your book, which is important. How does one improve the quality of sleep when you've got busy work lives and family constraints and crazy schedules? Any tips, tactics, ideas?
Yes, a lot of that though depends on the individual's lifestyle, circumstances, schedules, etc. Again, one size does not fit all. What is important though to understand is that sleep is measured in a 24-hour period, not just overnight. So
Okay.
if, for example, I need 6 hours of solid sleep to be okay. And if I only get four, then I can get some catch-up rest the next day with
Mhm.
a power nap, maybe,
Hmm. Okay.
or just some downtime just to zone out. So sleep and rest go hand in hand. Um, there is what's called sleep hygiene. It is the what you do, the pattern of behaviors you engage in 2 to 3 hours before you get in the bed. So I had a client who would eat dinner and then in an hour get in bed and couldn't sleep, tossed and turned. I'm like, well, maybe you're not giving your body enough time to digest the food. So he started eating a couple hours earlier and he began to rest better. Give your body enough time to digest foods. I would recommend minimizing or eliminating caffeine or sugary foods within that 2 to 3 hour period. Definitely separate yourself from your device. A lot of clients will scroll in bed, or watch um, true crime,
Right.
which produces a lot of anxiety and
Sure.
nightmares. So
Yeah.
it's about what you expose yourself to as well in that period. And engage in some relaxing activity to let your body and mind know that it's time to rest, like a gentle yoga segment or a meditation or a hot bath, and something, or reading something that's going to be soothing for you to, again, let your system know it's time to shut down and rest.
Got it. So not a great idea to have a glass of wine and a bowl of ice cream while watching an hour of true crime at bedtime,
Mhm.
I suppose.
No, no,
Okay.
no,
All
not a
right.
good idea. One of my favorite tips for sleeping well is what I call the mind dump. And it's the last thing you do before you go to bed. You journal whatever's on your mind at the time you're in the bed. And it helps you get that stuff out of you so you free up mental and emotional energy to rest. And it is the last thing you do before you turn off the light.
Oh, a mind dump, essentially. Or
Yeah, it's basically journaling, but I like the term mind
yeah.
dump.
Yeah, it has a cool ring to it there. Let's talk about massage. Yeah, I know you do therapeutic massage, and I know how many benefits there are to a professional therapeutic massage. Is that do most people respond well to therapeutic massage?
Oh yeah.
I would assume
Once
so.
they give themselves permission to get a massage.
I have never had one in my life, which
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I, I know people are amazed when they hear that. Yet I have friends that swear by them. So I got to believe that it's very effective for emotional, physical, believe and well-being.
But therapeutic massage by a licensed and experienced massage therapist
Hmm.
is very beneficial, and it does um, enhance and promote health on the physical, mental, emotional, and even spiritual level. I had one client who had never had a massage before. I started working with her, and then she would come in once a month. And about 6 months in, she actually said to me, "I'm becoming friends with my body,"
Hmm. Interesting.
because she hated her legs, she hated this, she didn't like this part. But the integration of the massage and the relaxation that it produced, she
Yeah.
became more accepting of the different parts of her body.
Wow. Not to mention stress reduction, anxiety
Yes,
mitigation, yeah,
yes,
on and on and
yeah.
on. There's a technique called rolfing. I believe that I don't know if that's a real aggressive massage. Any comments on that?
Rolfing is not my area of expertise,
Yeah.
more of therapeutic in sports.
Okay.
Though my personal experience with rolfing is that it is very painful and it's for very specific issues.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to a rolfer for relaxation.
Yeah. That was my impression too, but who am I to know? I have not had a therapeutic massage to compare it with.
So your job now is to get
Yes.
a massage from every type of massage therapist.
I'm going to do that. I'll make that my mission here, and I'll report back to you on that as well. Glenn, let's talk about boundaries for a second. That's a big one because you mentioned that in the book and from your early experience in life. Explain the concept and why it's so important. And I had a brief conversation with you sometime back when we were setting this show up that I thought it might come with a certain amount of risk setting boundaries, but I'm sure I'm misinterpreting. So let's talk boundaries.
Actually, you're not misinterpreting. Boundaries for me are our innate alarm system. We are born with boundaries, and that alarm system is monitored by the intuition. And the intuition will let us know when our boundaries, when we're in danger, when we're in harm's way. If there's a harmful person nearby or we're in a dangerous situation, then our boundaries will be alerted to give us the opportunity to act in our own safety. Okay. And so boundaries for me are on the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. Again, the different aspects of wholeness.
Hmm.
And uh, when we set boundaries, we do run the risk of being rejected, of being ridiculed, of being disapproved of, having someone be angry with us, because we humans, we like to get what we want when we want it. And so if I set a limit on someone and say, no, you can't have that, you can't have it now, you can't have it for long, then other people tend to not like that.
Hmm.
Though the ones who truly respect and love you, they'll adjust to appropriate boundaries.
Right. So they are very important.
They're incredibly important. I have clients whose anxiety and depression stem from poor boundaries.
If you've just tuned in to the Age of Adventure on KSKQ, my guest today is Glen Alex, author of Living in Total Health, many other books as well, and our guide to what she calls Wellth, Wellth. Here's an interesting one I wanted to ask you about, again, from your book, and I'm sure part of your practice too. But being present, which is in chapter 7 of your book, being present. How does one declutter our minds to allow us to focus on the present environment? And doesn't this touch on how we communicate with each other, being present? And my last question is, are women better at being present than men in general? Because my gut feel is that they are, as they're more emotive, more. And I realize you have to be, you know, I'm hitting you with a tough question there, so you'll have to spin this answer.
You know, a whole lot. Thanks for the putting me in that position, Rick.
Of
Thank you.
course, happy to help.
It's simply being aware of what is happening within and without you at any given moment.
Okay.
And that's that awareness can include a racing mind. That awareness can include being stressed out. That awareness can include just being calm. Okay.
Mhm.
You can be present when someone's yelling at you or in an argument. It's just simply being aware of what is happening in reality at the time.
Okay.
I don't know if it necessarily means to declare the mind. I have clients who say that they can't meditate because they can't quiet the mind. And for me, meditation is not about quieting the mind. It's about not attaching to what's in the mind.
Mm.
Because a lot of us believe that our thoughts are facts and that we have to pay attention to every single one of them. Not true.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
if you just let your thoughts flow in and out of your mind, then that
Mhm.
can promote presence and mindfulness
And
and minimize your stress, your internal stress. As far as the gender differences, I'm I'm gonna get in trouble.
I'll take the blame for anything that you have to say because I made the comment originally.
Okay, so for me, I think um, men might turn off or block what they're hearing.
Hmm.
I think women in general, these are overgeneralizations, um, are better at talking than listening.
Okay.
Because in my experience and conversations with women, we talk over each other.
Hmm,
So if you're
interesting.
talking, you can't hear. You're
Okay.
not listening. Okay. So for both genders, for men, women, and other non-traditional gender identity people, being present means you turn off your own responses, turn off your own thoughts and interpretations to be available to hear what the other person is saying. And when you do that, you can actually pick up their emotional content too that they're not saying.
Yeah.
So being present is just being simply aware of what is happening within and without you so you can adjust and maneuver within reality as effectively as possible.
Okay. That makes sense. And that involves what I guess has been called active listening too.
Yeah.
which is refreshing when someone actively listens to you.
Oh my goodness, that's like 80% of therapy
That's true.
is
Well, it
is
is.
is is being present. And in
Yeah.
being present, you give client I give the client the opportunity to sort out their own stuff.
Yeah.
Because as they're saying it and thinking about it, they can see it a little differently. And they have these aha moments as they're doing that. It's quite amazing, actually.
Yeah. And I experienced that 2, 3 years ago when I had a significant personal change in my life, and I went to a therapist, which I was never going to do in this lifetime because I can sort it all out myself.
Right.
I've got TMS, typical male syndrome, but no, I went to a therapist, and yes, it was remarkable. It changed my life tremendously.
Oh, well,
So
I'm glad it was successful for you.
it was, and I know the
Yeah.
type of therapy you do, I'm sure, is very successful because you wrap so many things into, I guess, what would be called a more holistic approach,
Mhm.
which I think is really, really critical. Um, from personal experience, one of the reasons wanted to bring that up was that I had an article published recently in what's called the Sneak Preview, which is a Rogue
Okay.
Valley publication. The article is titled "What I Learned About Women and Men" in parentheses, and it's a cute little article about my experience in the dating world after I wound up being single 3 years ago. But one of the things I put in there, I think, is that men tend to be poor listeners. Women are much more active listeners. That is my opinion, at least. But I understand. I hadn't factored in the fact that women do talk over each other too. Talk to me about the 4 steps to emotional intelligence. I realize we can't. There's a lot of ground to cover there, but emotional wealth, as you call it, and then you talk about 4 steps to emotional intelligence. And then I think you differentiate between feelings and emotions,
I
two
do.
different things. So,
I do. I do.
yeah.
Emotional intelligence for me is the partnership between the emotions and the intellect. Some people buy into they're only emotional, typically women, another overgeneralization, and the males tend to subscribe to being intellectual and rational and making sense. So, emotional intelligence is the partnership between the emotions and the intellect because the emotions alert us that we're having a response to something
Mhm.
and it's worthy of paying attention. And you bring the intellect in to help decide what to do about it, if anything.
Okay.
Okay. So, the overview of the steps for that is now 1 and 2 can be interchangeable. Some people are aware of they're angry right away. Some people aren't aware it's anger until they recognize the sensations. The physical sensations that are produced by the emotions are the feelings. The
Mhm.
feeling is not the emotion itself.
Okay.
So, for example, some clients say that they feel hot when they're angry, or when they're afraid their face will get hot. It's still heat. So the heat is not the emotion. The emotion is tied to the context of the physical
Got it.
sensation. Okay.
Okay.
So again, some people are aware that they're angry right away. Some people will go by the sensation. Okay, this I'm angry. So becoming aware of what you're experiencing and calming yourself first. For example, if someone's angry, instead of having an outburst, yelling at somebody, throwing things, or even hitting them, um, it's about recognizing I'm angry. This is my tendency. Let me calm myself and self-soothe. So that could be stepping out of the room. That could be going to get some cold water to counter the heat. That could
Hmm.
be going to splash some water on your face or just walking around just to calm down. And as you calm, calming involves mental separation from the issue, not a repetition of what I should say, I should do this, I should do that, I should do that. So when you
Okay.
calm, you promote presence, okay? And then you can decide, okay, I'm angry because he betrayed me. what can I do about that? Okay. And then what am I willing to do about that?
Mm,
Because we have a list of options, that doesn't mean we're always willing to take them.
yeah,
So that's an overview of the steps.
that's
And when you get to the point, I'm sorry, when you get
oh,
to the part about what you're willing to do about it, that's where you are empowered. So if you choose to act, okay. If you choose not to act, that's okay too. And so it's not this buildup of harboring these emotions so they do other unhealthy things in the body and the mind.
which relates to what you call in chapter 6 of your book, choosing well. So that's one of
Yes.
those choices.
It is one of those choices, yes.
Yeah, it is. We're in an incredibly divided nation right now, unfortunately. And the divide, the rift is increasing, in my opinion. Not We're not bridging it, in my opinion, at all right now. But I think so much of the anger, which is, of course, the feeling coming from the emotions and the political differences in our country, are very unfortunate. I wish everyone had a chance to have had gone through a course, perhaps that you were teaching here prior to the election, in terms of how to handle the
Yes.
emotions involved, and then the anger and the feelings and the shattering, the divide that we have now. It's just so unfortunate.
It's crazy and it's a little scary. It is a
Mhm.
little scary. So, um, again, I don't believe that anyone who is balanced physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually will intentionally harm self or another person. So the results of what we're seeing politically is that the leadership is unhealthy
Mhm. Yeah,
because individuals have elected the leaders,
and
which
have
on
and have high expectations that are being met, perhaps on the one side of the aisle and not on the other side.
that's one way to look at it, though I think that healthy individuals
Mhm.
create a healthy collective.
Okay.
So individuals who are not imbalanced physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I mean, I've even heard some people say that they selected a particular candidate because that candidate was frank and first and said the things that that individual wish they could say and get away with.
Yeah. Right.
So I think again, people in pain hurt other people,
They
and
do.
people who are living in wealth don't.
Yeah. And especially there are folks out there that really have not much of a filter, for lack of a better word. And, you
Yeah,
know, and we know who they are in the political arena too, don't we?
yes, we do. We do.
Although we'll try and avoid that topic. We could go on forever on that one. We can do that off the air.
I'll definitely get in trouble if we go there.
I'm sure. Yeah, we don't want to. Definitely don't want to go there. If you're just tuning in today, this is Rick Vann, and my guest today is Glen Alex, who has dedicated her life to health and helping others be joyful, connected, confident, and complete. A life experience she likes to call Wellth, as in Wellth. And you're listening to KSKQ Community Radio and the Age of Adventure show. You can listen to us at 89.5 FM in Ashland and 94.1 FM in Medford, or you can stream us anytime at kskq.org all over the planet. Now, back to my conversation with Glen Alex. You mentioned uh, personal truth. I know that so many of us experience depression, experience low points in our life. I know I hit bottom, as you call it in the book, but you also mentioned the difference between hitting bottom or having the bottom rise up to meet you. And that's not exactly what you wrote in the book, but that concept is interesting. Uh, when we hit bottom, or is it truly just the bottom rising to meet us? You mentioned that.
Well, I added this spiritual component to wealth and wholeness after Living in Total Health came out, though I do talk about it in chapter 12, the personal truth and resilience part of who we are. And that, again, that personal truth is your connection to yourself, understanding who you are, what your innate gifts and talents are, what your purpose is in life on earth. And when we are not living in our personal truth, then anxiety and depression and other things take over
Mhm.
because we are living out of our own reality. And in that case, we can hit bottom because we're grasping for something that's not available to us, what other people think, what they say, all that other stuff, instead of dealing with what's internal and innate to us. And sometimes when we are living in our personal truth or even in pursuit of it, then the bottom can come up, though that's an elevation of the bottom.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
the bottom rising to meet us. So maybe we can go a little higher.
Ah, got it.
So maybe we can
That's
elevate and grow a little more.
yeah,
So it's not us descending, it's our existence rising. Yes.
good. Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, and we can go up from there.
And we can go up from there and
Yeah,
continue
which
to
is important.
grow and flourish and expand.
Yeah. You mentioned, of course, interesting part of your statement there was what our purpose on this earth is. So as I look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Maslow was working on a level above. For those listeners that know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, of course, it starts with biological needs at the bottom and rises to a level called self-actualization. But there
Mhm.
was a level above that he was very much involved in and never got published because he died before it could make it to the top of the pyramid. But that level is called self-transcendence, and that's pretty heady stuff. So again, too out there, too woo woo as we would call that in Ashland.
Transcendence is I don't separate it actually from the rest of who I am.
Hmm.
Because that's the spiritual personal truth component, which is present from birth, from conception. And it's just a matter of us becoming aware of it.
Hmm.
I don't think it's something we reach. I think it's something we uncover. Well, actually, what I'm visualizing is the hierarchy. Transcendence is at the top. I would like to see it trickle through all of the levels.
That's a fair statement. Now, I wish Maslow was still alive and we could convey that to him.
We, well, he'd probably tell me to go sit down somewhere.
He probably would. Let me ask you about paradigms. Wayne Dyer had an interesting quote: "When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change."
Mhm.
So paradigms. Never understood what those were until my 30s or 40s, truly. But you get involved in paradigms, paradigm shifting at all in your practice?
Oh, yes, yes. Don't language it that way, though it paradigm is your frame of reference for how life works. It's your
Mhm.
expectations, your beliefs. It's just how you frame life. An example of a paradigm is that for a long time, we here in the US never thought we'd have to deal with foreign terrorism until 9/11.
Mhm.
And so our paradigm was shifted that, oh yeah, they can come over here and hurt us too. So when it comes to anxiety and depression, the paradigm that most of my clients present is that they have to be this way.
Mm.
Life should be this. And if they don't fit into that, then that's what triggers their level of distress. So, client, late 20s, I should be married, I should have kids, I should have a house, I should have a career, and they don't because of other choices they've made before that.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. And instead of evaluating the choices they made, why they made them, and make adjustments going forward, they just think that whatever choices they made, they still should be at this place at this point in their lives.
Yeah.
So that's their
Right.
paradigm.
Okay.
And it's faulty. And that's what's creating her depression.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I find paradigms fascinating. I was there was a radio talk show host named Dr. Laura Schlesinger years
Hmm.
ago. She used to talk about the classic midlife fulcrum when ambition yields to self-preservation, and I thought that was somewhat similar to what we're talking about. So our paradigm later in life is shifting to, geez, can I make it to the end? And what are the bad choices I've made? Can I correct them and all that stuff? So it's a challenge,
It
you
is a
know.
challenge. It is a challenge to recognize that mindset,
Yeah.
accept how it has impacted you, and to be willing to make the changes necessary so you can live more authentically, more joyfully.
And that's the key is taking action
It's taking action,
because
yes.
the road to we know where is just paved with great intentions. But, it's a question of writing it down and putting it in front of you, doing it, calendarizing it. Uh,
Yes, evaluating the outcome and then making adjustments as necessary.
yeah, right. So, but that's the difficult part, putting it all into action.
Seems
And
to
I'm sure
be.
I'm sure that's something you stress with clients. So, Glenn, boy, I've covered about 50% of what I wanted to talk to you about, but
My gosh.
unfortunately, we're looking at perhaps 2, 3 minutes left here in the show. Is there a wrap, a message that you would like to leave our listening audience with? Call it a wish for the future. Call it something that could put them on a better path. Anything?
Yes, my hope for humanity and for individuals is for each one of us to recognize and accept our part in this big experiment. And that starts with um, taking care of yourself. That starts with some self-compassion, some patience, boundaries, and just working or learning coping tools and skills to help you successfully navigate through life's challenges, because there will be many challenges that we face. And when you can successfully walk through those challenges, you grow, you learn, you expand, you become more loving, you become more receptive, you become more authentic, and that only benefits humanity. So my hope is that people get it, they do it, they live it, and that will make the world safe and loving for all of us.
Yeah, love it. Glenn, also, have you got website, a way for our listeners to contact you to check your books out and your blogs, etc.? Would you like to pass some information on?
Absolutely. My website is glenalex.com. That's GLENALEX.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I do sell directly signed copies of Living in Total Health, signed copies of Wellness Through Words, which is an anthology that contains my chapter Living Well with Boundaries. I do offer other health and wellness products, just to whatever I can do to help people live a more joyful and authentic life. And
Thank you.
I do offer a complimentary consultation to see if I'm a good fit for a client. I am licensed in Nevada and Oregon and credentialed with over 160 insurance companies. So there's a link on my website to see if your insurance company is covered. If not, then I do offer self-pay options.
Great. And that website and email address one more time.
The website is glenalex.com, GLENALEX.com. And my email is Glen, GLEN, at glenalex.com.
Excellent. Okay, great. Well, hey, thank you so much for being on the show. I can't imagine I pulled an hour of your time with your busy schedule, but I did. So I feel very, very good about that.
Well, I appreciate it. And may I say one more thing?
Yes.
Okay, I am doing a presentation at the First Presbyterian Church of Ashland on
Okay.
Sunday, October 19th at 12:30 p.m.
Sunday, October 19th at 12:30 p.m.
Yes.
And the name of the church again?
The First Presbyterian Church in Ashland
Got it.
is on the corner of
Okay.
Walker and Siskiyou in the Calvin
Okay.
Hall. It's completely free, so please come out.
Great. I would encourage everyone to go check it out and get a chance to meet Glenn in person. So,
Yes.
well, thank you very much for a process of discovery and again, quite the exposition that we just had. So I really appreciate being on the show. It was a lot of fun talking to you, Glenn.
Oh, thank you so much, Rick. This was fun for me too, and I do appreciate your invitation.
All right, great. Well, we'll look forward to talking to you again. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you.
You too.
All
Bye-bye.
right. You're listening to KSKQ 89.5 FM Ashland and 94.1 FM in Medford and surrounding areas. I want to thank my guest, Glen Alex, for a wonderful hour of discovery and enlightenment. The Age of Adventure airs on the first and fourth Friday every month at 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can also stream us live virtually anywhere on the planet at kskq.org. I also wanted to thank Donnie Rose, who plays and sings our theme music, and my daughters Morgan and Maddie, who launch our show in the beginning. If you missed any of our show today, you can also check out Glen Alex's book, Living in Total Health and Connecting with Your Wellth, copyright 2019. I'll finish our show today with a teaser, her opening thoughts in her introduction to Living in Total Health. And I quote, "Are you open to thoughts and ideas that don't conform to mainstream views about health and wellness? Though hesitancy is a normal human response to the unknown, I encourage you to keep an open mind while reading this book and not automatically limit your learning because the information is unfamiliar or divergent. You may already be asking, what does Glen know? Well, she knows something about health, which is the focus of her life's work. What I know can revolutionize your thinking and transform your health," says Glen. "Reading my words can help if you're open to diverse concepts not commonly discussed and shared. And being my healthiest is important to me. It is the bridge that connects me to joy, congestion, nagging aches, diffuse anger, and self-absorption, for example, diminish the experience of a loved one's smile, a ray of sunlight dancing on the porch, and laughter. Quite simply, health adds the quality to life that connects us to the wonder of humanity. I am here to facilitate you being the healthiest, most connected you can be. To me, health is more than a lab result or a physician's diagnosis. We humans are much more than the sum of our biological parts. We think, we feel, we intuit, and we choose. Those attributes of humanity are not adequately described, understood, nor defined by science. So why should we limit our knowledge of self to only what a scientist or doctor's information and instruments detect? We should not." That was part of the intro to Glen Alex's book, Living in Total Health, but check out the rest. It's a great read, and it may change your life.
Thank you for tuning into today's episode. We really hope you learned how you can choose to respond to life's challenges while remaining joyful and loving. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode. If you need additional guidance and support, please visit glenalex.com, order your signed copies of Living in Total Health and Living Boundaries, and request your free consultation with me. And then tune into the next episode of The Glen Alex Show. And until next time, be well.
Joyful